All right, you have to explain why we're playing this song. Like, no one knows this song, man. Come on, you got to explain it.
No, let it play.
Let it breathe. All right.
Let it breathe.
Is there a chorus here? Are there lyrics? At some point, something's got to happen here, right? Like Jonas Siegel's in here from The Athletic. Do you want to explain why we're playing the theme song for a certain movie, your favorite movie?
I just figured since the cronies were attacking today, we would attempt some Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay.
But it's like this beginning is awful. It's like we got to get to the point where it's like, Revenge of the Nerds.
Right. Try to find that if you can, but I think we've had enough. Thank you. There it is. Actually, the lyrics finally started. It's a terrible song, man. Those movies were awful, too. Okay, enough. We can't do it anymore. Revenge of the Nerds, it was a good idea. Did it land, Jonas? I mean, you've been on the show many times.
It was like half funny, like sort of.
Yeah.
But not.
More so stupid that it was funny.
I appreciate it. He's creative. I like that.
Yeah,
he's
a creative guy.
It would have landed so much better if it just came in with like revenge, like the words that I wanted. I didn't expect that was the beginning of that song.
Yeah, you got to express that, right? We got new guys behind the glass today. JP's off, and it's all good. We'll get it. We'll play it.
You know, I have a theory. I think, Jeff, you're secretly becoming a nerd. I think you're getting into the numbers. You're digging in.
Becoming a crony?
I think he's becoming a crony.
I'll tell you what, Jonas. If you or any of your cronies could tell me some type of number that could help a puck stay out of the Leafs' net,
well,
I'm all ears. I'm all ears, Jonas and your crony friends.
I love this. You know what the numbers do tell us? Who is not playing well together, who is playing well. They tell us all these things. I told you guys on Monday, defensively, I'm very concerned.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And it's like, it's
bad.
It's snowballing. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's ugly,
it's really bad back
it's
there.
Really
it's
ugly.
really bad back there.
It's
they
really
got dummied
ugly.
by Ottawa in the second and third period last night, where I thought after the Domi pass, it's like, okay, joke's over. They were going to take control, and then it just was a yard sale. And whatever they have to do, but the thing is, people are like, the defense core's got to play better. They need better back pressure from the forwards to help the defense core. And then after that, a goaltender's got to make the save. So it's like there's a lot of things that need to be corrected. And you can tell that was the end of the line for the coach last night because he was like, that's enough. That's enough. And I don't know. He's got to figure out who to put out there, or there's got to be consequences for some guys that are going out there that aren't doing it. Because, like he said, this is different than anything we've seen with these guys, and enough's enough. So they got to figure it out.
Yeah, to put it into perspective, I saw last night the Maple Leafs have tied a franchise record by allowing 4+ goals in 7 consecutive home games to begin a season.
That's nonsense.
That's
like
absolutely absurd. And 4 would be okay. Like usually it's 6, like last night, or 5 against Tampa. It was 6 against Buffalo. Like 4 is just to make this a stat that you can kind of launch off of, because it's not as if 7 in a row they've given up 4. They've given up a lot more than that. And, everyone's seeing this stat online. Only the Sharks, the Canadiens, the Oilers, and the Seattle Kraken have fewer regulation wins than the Maple Leafs. They've got 3 wins in regulation. Yet, they're 6-5-2 based on the standings, which the glass half full is that it's been ugly. It's been really ugly, and defensively, it's a real kind of shock to the system, and it's difficult to watch. And, yeah, Sheldon Keefe had some comments after the game, and we'll play them momentarily, because I thought he had a comment. I think he had pointed comments to his players, but also, I think, to the media and the fan base about how they're reacting collectively about what's going on here. But I'm trying to figure out, as I was coming in here, like, where do you pinpoint the issue? And for me, it's the defensemen. Yes, the forwards need back pressure. Yes, they need to be positionally stronger. They need to win some more battles. They need to help out, maybe not give up as many odd man rushes. Joseph Wall really struggled last night. Like, that was an off game for him. He really, really struggled. Samsonov has had real struggles, undoubtedly.
Real struggles, Hayes, and we
struggles.
talked about it. And before you get to the defensemen, those types of performances by goaltenders make every D look
Yes,
bad.
like 2 of the first 3 goals were bad goals.
Ad nauseum.
Yes.
When the goaltender does his job, it covers up a lot of mistakes, and you're not looking right at defensemen saying, oh, look at that error in the corner. Look at that giveaway, because he saves it.
Well, 2 of the first 3 goals were bad goals. Like, I didn't think the Leafs were playing poorly. That's the thing. I didn't think they were flat. I didn't think they had an off game. It's once the bad break went in off Giordano's skate, it was over. Then everything collapsed. But for me, it is very pointed. Like, it is the defensemen that are struggling here. You have injuries with Liljegren. You have injuries with McCabe. It sounds like McCabe will return tomorrow night. Liljegren is weeks away. And Liljegren is not, that's not Larry Robinson we're talking about. Like
neither is McCabe.
And neither is McCabe, and neither is Connor Timmins. But John Klingberg is a real issue right now. Like, it's a real issue to the point where he was the 7th skater at practice today. I'm not sure he's going to play tomorrow night, and that's 100% deserved. And that's pretty wild considering they're 13 games into the season, yet it's totally justified. Like, the whipping boy history in Toronto there's a long lineage, right?
Larry Murphy Award.
It dates back. Yeah. I just did a hit with Gino on SportsCenter, and I made the comment, and this is dead serious. I remember my dad talking about whipping boys from the 60s. And 70s and early 80s.
It's a pastime.
It's a pastime, and it gets hand down generation to generation. It does. It's
actually true. You could
Larry
go through every team and be like, it was that guy,
yeah.
it was that guy, it was that guy. Aki Bergen, and then it was this guy, and then
Larry Murphy, then it was Aki, and then
you guys brought up Corey Cross.
Gardner.
I was like, oh my, yeah.
Corey Cross was a guy. Mike Komisarek was a guy. At one point, Dion famously, Justin Hall, and now it's John Klingberg. Jake Gardner was a classic example of that. Yeah. But with all of those players, almost all of them, they were polarizing as opposed to unanimously accepted as a whipping boy. And what I mean by that is, and Gardner's probably the best example. Well, he could skate, he could make plays offensively, he could make a first pass, analytically not bad. So it was old school blue collar eye test versus new school analytics, where you're like, okay, there's going to be a battle here. There's, for the first time maybe in Leaf history, Leaf fan base history.
Yes.
Every corner of the fan base is meeting in the middle saying John Klingberg can't play right now.
Yeah.
Every single one. There isn't one redeeming quality of his game, and yet he's a veteran. This is not his first rodeo.
And he's a veteran who was once one of the better defensemen in the league.
Exactly. And listen, it's 13 games. I think you give him a breather, but you're going to reinsert him and give him a chance. There should be more of a runway here. But the way the narratives drive home in Toronto specifically, and I'm sure this happens in other markets, it snowballs out of control where it's almost impossible to get the cat back in the bag. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happened here with Klingberg. And, Mark Giordano, I love Gio. We all love Gio. He's 40 years. He's literally the oldest player in the league.
Yeah.
He should be a 6th or 7th defenseman.
Playing 12, 13,
if that.
minutes.
7th defenseman, playing 40 games a year, maybe 50 injuries. He steps in, great guy, leader. But you can't rely on him to play top 4 minutes. You can't rely on Klingberg to do it right now. And then the other pairing are guys who respectfully should be in the American Hockey League. The defense core is a massive issue. It's a massive issue.
But I don't think is that on them or is that on the way the team is built? Like, why were you expecting John Klingberg to be amazing this year?
It was obviously
Jonas, we talked
a miscalculation at this point.
We talked about it yesterday where they had a solid defensive stretch of hockey. I believe it was last year.
It was last November. Remember?
With Mete and Jordy Ben.
Hollowell.
And Mac Hollowell.
Yeah,
so it's like whoever goes out there has got to do better. I don't know what the hell the problem is. If you just are lost, if the defensive zone instructions are confused. Like, I have no idea what it is. But whosever responsibility it is, you better fix it or it's going to get ugly because they can't keep digging pucks out of their net.
But how can you – I mean, you look back to their team last year. They lost a lot of good defensive players. Who did they add that was good defensively? Can you pick anyone and say that guy? Everyone they added, it was kind of like a
but let's not overstate. Like, it wasn't Selke winners leaving.
No, but
or
like
Norris winners.
Luke Shen, Justin Hall, Alex Kerfoot, Ryan O'Reilly, Noah Chari,
those
Sam
are
Lafferty.
post-deadline. Those are post-deadline.
But the team they ended with, lots of good defensive players.
Yes.
And then in the summer, they didn't add really any good defensive players. They lost penalty killers. They didn't replace them. Mm-hmm. All this stuff.
I want to add one more thing is when they have the puck, I counted. It's just like I'm looking for things because we're doing the game tomorrow. And one of the things that they're doing, which is alarming, is giving away the puck.
Yeah.
I'm talking little backhand passes, little rinky-dink plays in the neutral zone, and it's all areas of the ice. Like you get a forecheck, a stupid little giveaway. Neutral zone, stupid little giveaway. Own end zone, stupid little giveaway.
Yeah.
That is not a personnel problem. That is not the player or the jersey name or number. That is just not paying attention and not being strong enough on pucks. Because I created a highlight pack that should be down the street at the Hall of Fame for giveaways. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, well, and that would speak.
And that's not talent or lack of ability. Everyone's doing it. It's like, you guys want to be a possession? Hang on to the puck. Enough with these stupid little giveaways.
Well, it's happening league-wide. There's a lot of weird defensive play going on. Like, again, I didn't think Ottawa came in here and played spectacularly well. No. I thought they were okay, and they took off late. Stützle made some great plays. Giroux made some great plays, and that's a big win for Ottawa. They needed that desperately. Vancouver is putting up massive numbers every single night. We know what's happening in Edmonton and Calgary. That's just up here. You could go to the States and find 7, 8, 10 teams where you're like, this is really strange the way they're playing right now. The amount of offense they're giving up, or the amount of giveaways that they are personally supplying the opposition. And you're right, that's where the coach comes into play. And Sheldon Keefe is zeroed in on that right now. Like, whenever you're talking about what's going to happen on a field of play, it generally fluctuates in terms of the percentage that the onus is on the players compared to the coaching staff or to management. But a majority always has to be on the players, especially when you're a good team and a veteran-laden team. Like the Maple Leafs are making mistakes that can't happen for a team that has, if not championship aspirations, certainly playoff
They have
aspirations.
championship aspirations.
They do. They're speaking to it. Whether they're realistic or not, I guess time will tell. But yes, the expectation was 105 points. You're going to make the playoffs, and there's still a lot of runway for them to do that. Like, let's clarify. They are not San Jose. They're not the position Edmonton finds themselves in. They do this every year where it's sloppy early, and then they find a way to get it on the rails. And in large part, I think that is because of the coach. I think Keefe realizes, okay, this is something that's got to change. But let's say Sheldon's 20% of the responsibilities on him. That means 80% still on the players. And it speaks to what you're just talking about there, O. Like, there are things happening on the ice where you're like, guys, you've been in the league 7, 8 years. Yeah. Or you're on the fourth line. What do you think you're doing?
And those little giveaways I just mentioned, it's from John Tavares right down to Ryan Reeves.
Exactly.
Everyone. It's like little plays that are just ticky-tack plays where the puck, it's a loss of possession. It's like, what are you doing? And I talked about it, and Jonas, I don't know what you think, but just the idea of dumb hockey, and I believe there's a direct correlation with the way the players are kind of brought up these days, where it's like, it's all about them. It's like your stats, your money, and there are these like individual corporations coming up through the ranks. And now they get to a point where they're like, they have no idea about the clock, how much time's left in a period, how much time's left in a game. Where do I got to get the puck deep? Where do I really got to battle? Because they're just locked into, give me the iPad. Let me see how I screwed up there. Forget the iPads. Like, go out there and understand that the clock in the building is the most important thing. And the one thing Mike Babcock always used to say is, like, you generally got to commit to a 3-1 type hockey game in this league. Mm-hmm. But that just seems like it's out the window now with what the hell's going on. It's like, what are you committing to? Like, what is the reasonable shot at success if you're committed to a 7-4 win every night? Probably nothing.
No, it can't work over time.
No.
Like, why do you think Boston's had such success? That's what they do every single night.
They commit to 3-1.
Yes, they commit to it. And there's been turnover there. They have had they have a worse roster today,
Hayes,
clearly, than they did a year ago.
That goes back to the standard and non-negotiable things that are in Boston's locker room. You're going to play on this team. You're not going to have those stupid turnovers because that's the expectation, and that's what we all do here. And if you don't do it, Jimmy Boy's going to tell you you're watching from the stands.
Right. And that's where I think it's a segue into the comment from Keefe last night, because he was raring to go. Like, he was not happy with the way things imploded last night. Nor should he be. Again, it's very obvious. Like, this is, no one's making up this conversation or narrative. You watch them. Like, it's really glaring, the defensive breakdowns. And here's what Keefe had to say after the game about some of the reactions towards certain stories, certain players, certain stats on his team so far this year.
Very high.
What has to be the focus with that moving forward?
Some of it's individual, some of it's collective within the structure. Some of it's just being committed to it, you know. We sit in here and we celebrate guys who score big numbers and score a ton and all that kind of stuff. We don't talk enough about what we give up. That's the reality. We got to prioritize keeping the puck out of our net.
So that's totally accurate, totally reasonable comment. And I took that as much of it as a shot at his team, but really the big boys, I think, because he's saying you guys are going to determine this. Like basically, not without naming names, like great Austin, you have 13 goals. We're 6-5-2. You know, or great Mitch, he had back-to-back 4-point nights. Or Willie, you've been good. Or Morgan Riley, you've been good. But I also took that as almost, hey, outside of the room, like the media, the fans, you guys are talking about, you know, how all this kind of stuff, and maybe it's time to focus on the other issues.
See, but what's tough about that is they have been a very good defensive team for a number of years now.
Mm-hmm.
This is new. I don't know that has ever like penetrated the wider consciousness, but that's what's so alarming about this is they were a really good defensive team last year, the year before that. And now it's like every night you're like, oh my God. Like,
they're giving up a ton of goals and breakdown.
And I can tell you, like he came out, Keith, today, and the opposite message, all positivity. We've actually been playing better the last couple of games. Things have been going well. So he's trying to kind of change the narrative around a little bit.
He said that today?
Yeah. Like clearly after the game, he was as mad as you can be. And what's interesting about that is like there was like a pretty good pause where you're waiting in the media room and like it was a while. So like he must have been even more fired up, I guess is what I'm saying.
Before he came out?
Yeah.
Like, so they were like, just cool down for a couple minutes before you come out.
That's what I'm thinking. And he was
see.
still hot and fired up.
Yeah.
And then today it was all different. It was actually we've been playing a little bit better. Actually, you know, we haven't been giving up as much. It's been big mistakes. And like I don't really buy that, but he's trying to turn the tide a little bit.
I do think like what that statement would suggest that it's bigger. I agree that the big mistakes are glaring, and because there is a difference between, you know, a micro and a macro defensive issue. Like because you just said like for years collectively as a team over the course of 82 games they've been a good defensive team, which is factual. You look at it last night, and again I'm picking on the one guy, but like Klingberg, when he blew a wheel and then
shocking.
It's almost as if he's a forward that's been converted to play defense, and he doesn't know what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
On the 5-3 goal, he is literally checking nobody.
Yeah.
Like they come in, it's an on-man rush. The one guy drives to the far post. He watches him. Then he goes up to the slot. Then he stops, and it's like you have.
It's like they threw you out there, and you're just like, whoa.
Literally, I know from my own experience here. I was a forward my whole life. I moved to defense later. You know, again, this is junior minor hockey. But it looks like that. It's like he doesn't know who he's supposed to grab. He doesn't know that he's just supposed to maybe solidify that, John, and win the front battle every single time. You know, go to the front of the net, grab a guy, and win it.
It's like when you are giving up that amount of goals, and we're 13 games in?
Yes.
Like, doesn't your own subconscious mind, because every player on any team has had meetings with the coach where it's like, guys, we got to tighten up defensively. And it's like the message is just, what do you just say? You just nod your head and grin screw the coach and say, yeah, good idea, that's cool. And then you just show up and you don't have any clue what the hell you're doing out there. Like just the idea of playing a tighter defensive game for the greater good, how is that not a thing? Like I just don't understand that. Like,
yeah.
I always believed a player in that league should be told in the second period, all right, guys, tighten up. We got a 3-goal lead. Nothing stupid here. No turnover. Stay aggressive on the forecheck. Always a third guy high. Defense, be careful on the pinches. Nothing stupid here because it's not necessary. How do you not understand that being in that league? It's the best league in the world.
Well, it does it does seem to be.
Do you know what I mean, Hayes? It's like you're talking about John
Klingberg,
Klingberg, a guy that was once at one time about to sign an $8 million a year deal for 5 or 6 years in Dallas, and now he doesn't know where to go in his own zone. How on earth is that possible?
Do you guys? Can I just ask you? Do you think it is salvageable, or do you think this is it
for Klingberg in particular?
Yeah,
I think you got to give him another run.
Better get it together.
No, listen. I think what Trey Living is going to have to determine here. He's the guy that's got to make that call. Ultimately, it's got because Sheldon Keefe and Tree Living. Like, what are you going to do with this guy if you can't salvage this? Because it's not a long-term deal,
No.
but it's $4.15 million. That's a big chunk of change. And that, if you bury it, and this is extreme, they're not there yet, and they shouldn't be. I think the move is take him out for a game, put him back in.
I kind of think he might be the 7th defenseman tomorrow. I think they might go 11.
They might go 11
That's
and
what it
7,
seems.
but then who do they take out?
I think it's Ryan Reeves.
See, that is going to be a story to itself. Like the fact that Reeves, again.
But to your point, like, what's the word? In terms of the way it's gone on the ice, that's the move. They've been outscored. I think it's 9-0 when he's been on the ice. Like,
right. No, and he has struggled. Now, again, as I've said countless times for weeks, David Camp is struggling
too.
He is not helping the cause.
Nope.
Noah Gregor's been okay, but it's, there's a lot of empty calories. I find.
At Noah
shots
Gregor,
on net.
at least he does something.
He skates. He puts pucks on net. He does. I'm not.
He's been fine
against him. But
775.
But it is what it's going to be. Yeah, you're like ideally he's your 12th forward.
Yep.
But he's been better than that and better than his counterparts on that line. They might go 11 and 7, and that might make sense. But like Keith spoke to it last night, that they need to protect Klingberg. What are you going to do? He starts every shift in the offensive
That's what I
zone,
don't understand.
and eventually the puck's going to be in your end. Like there's only so much you can do. Like that's hockey, man. It's
Jonas,
a
don't
flowing
give me that
sport.
BS about you don't understand why he starts every shift. You should be able to start a shift in your own zone in the NHL.
Yes,
Dude, like I'm just looking literally how they use him.
That's what they're doing.
They had been using him before this little stretch like a rookie defenseman, where every face-off they put him in the offensive zone, never put him out for defensive zone draws.
What the hell kind of player are you if you can't start a shift in your own zone?
That's how little
that
they
is
trust him
completely
defensively.
insane.
But
I'm sorry.
Is it
insane.
surprising though?
It's
You've
not
been
surprising.
watching him. He should be.
They're using
starting.
AHL defensemen ahead of him right now. Like,
Yeah. No,
I
exactly.
just don't get it. Like, what do you do signing a contract saying, hey, by the way, don't even think about putting me out on like that
Jeff,
is ridiculous.
It's his decision.
They tried it for 2 games. Remember, they played him on the second pair with Jake McCabe. It went terribly. And I think it was the 3rd or the 4th game. They're like, we can't do. They didn't say this, but they started changing the way they used him. They're like, we can't do this anymore. We can't put him out there against second and third lines, first lines, defensive zone draws. No more.
Well, and that's where it becomes.
And then you have an injury, and then you need him. And
Yeah, and it's on him as a pro player. He's got to look in the mirror here. Like
he has. Maybe this is what he is.
Well, and if it is, then it's got to be rectified. Like that. If this is the determination, then clearly it was a massive mistake, and it needs to be rectified. Now, how you're going to do that is troublesome because, you can't bury him in the minors because you're still looking at a dead cap hit of over $3 million. But no one's taking John Klingberg right now unless you attach like a first-round pick to it.
yeah, you do a Nick Ritchie.
Yeah, but who wants? That's what's got them in the position they're in. Is all these mistakes that, yes, to their credit, his predecessor Dubas. We'll see what Tree Living does here.
That would be insanity what you just said, and I understand the meaning behind it, Brian, like the necessary evil, but would also be insane at the same time.
They can't keep doing it.
But
they
what do
can't
you
keep
do
just
then?
throwing? Well, I mean, you might just have to chew on the mistake. You got to hope that Liljegren returns, McCabe returns.
That's a
maybe
high ankle
Timmins
sprain. That's
return.
like New Year, I would guess.
Nah, it could be like 6
Late
weeks.
December?
It could be a few months. Fine, but Connor Timmins, who's always hurt, and I don't know what he is as a pro, or via trade. Like you got to try to find a trade. And
Maybe you trade for another team that's struggling with their guy for whatever.
I mean, it's too early to get to that extreme level. It's 13 games.
Yeah, but it's 13 games, Hayes, plus last year.
Yes. That's what, revisionist history. It's easy for us all to play, the hindsight is 20/20 quarterback here.
That's not revisionist.
But no, what I'm saying is at the time, $4.15 million for what is clearly a reclamation project seems absurd.
Yes.
Where I would assume there was a market. I'm assuming other teams or his agent was saying, this is an option for us, that's an option, we'll come up here and that's the number, and they agreed on the number at 4.15.
Right.
But considering he was making 7, I believe, last year in Anaheim, and it was a mess. And admittedly, I thought Anaheim was maybe the worst team in the league last year.
Yeah.
And defensively was an absolute train wreck. I thought you bring him up here, you talk about protection, put him on a better team, better coach, better system, insulate him. John Klingberg can flourish here possibly or come alive. Through 13 games, that has been completely torn to shreds, that idea. But that's what makes it such an onerous deal is that it's $4.15 million. So like Ryan Reeves might be different. Someone might say, I'll take him at 1.35. You could
Right,
bury
you
it
can
if
bury
need be.
most of it, yeah.
He's a big personality. I don't think they're there yet, but it is pretty amazing that we're 13 games in, and I think collectively the fan base is having that conversation. I'm not sure they are behind closed doors.
You don't think so?
They have to
How would
talk
they
about
not?
everything, clearly. But there's an element of you got to have faith in yourself. You got to be confident in decisions. You got, like I thought earlier this week, some of the players said the right thing, that if you're freaking out 10 games into the league, you shouldn't be in the NHL.
Yeah.
13 games in, you're 6-5-2. You're going to start making these crazy, outrageous panic moves. I mean, again, Edmonton did that, but they were 2-8-2. Like 2-8-2 is different than 6-5-2.
When is it not early? When do we stop saying it's early?
I don't know. Is it the
season's
20
only
game
80
mark?
games,
Is it
82 games.
the U.S. Thanksgiving?
That's the
That's
thing.
like a week.
That's
That's
the thing
2
about
weeks.
13 games, gentlemen. It's like 20 games is around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that there's, and I do agree, it's early to freak out, but let's just saw it in half and say there's some problems going on here that are not sustainable, and if they're not corrected, there's no success around the corner for playing like this. There might not even be playoffs if you want to continue to do this. So pick your poison. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You want to commit to a 3-1 game and get something in place where the guys that are going out there have a chance to have success. And don't kid yourself, a lot of it's on the players. They have to do better in their own zone and commit, which I don't think is an unreasonable request. In the NHL, it's like that's what you got to do. And then if you still got problems, then you got to get serious and do something real serious. I don't know. But one of the massive things is, do you got to bring that guy up in the minors, Martin Jones, to play a game and make a save? Because the other two guys are a mess right now. I don't know what the hell you're going to do in net.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting at practice today when Keith talked about the goalies. He basically talked up Wall and said Samsonov's really struggling. And they're going back to Wall on Friday, which is they were going to split the games anyway. Who cares who plays first? But he made it sound like we saw, Samsonov's in it right now, which is, obvious, right? It's not surprising, but it was he was really talking up Joseph Wall and really be we don't know what's going on with Samsonov right now, which is not good. Joseph Wall hasn't played, I don't think he's played 20 games in the league, maybe 21, 20.
That's why this is layered. There's a number of things that
there's so many fires.
Right.
There's stuff going on. And even on the other side of it, where Keefe is saying we're so focused on the individual stats. The fact is, Matthews has 13 goals. Willie's got a point in 13 straight. Tavares is scoring. Marner's now starting to collect a lot of points. Riley and Brody have been a pretty good pairing. And with all that said, it's still 6-5-2 and a lot of concern.
That goes back to what I talked about, Hayes. Are we going to just celebrate the individual stuff? Well, can't keep it out of your net. So how good and it's not like you're going to talk negatively about guys that are being so successful, but there's a bunch of other important parts to the game that are costing them right now that need to get fixed. And once that happens, maybe you can celebrate a little bit more what guys are doing individually offensively.
Well, I think the Nylander one's the best example. He gets them on the board quick. That's 13 straight. It's a team record, and it's buried. Matthews is leading the league in goals, which have been celebrated at the time, but there's so many self-inflicted wounds here.
Is there any other city in the league where you get more street cred for riding the TTC? I don't think so.
Yeah, Willie was on there last night.
When Dwayne Casey was on the TTC, everyone's like, look at our coach. He's on the TTC. I love that guy. And then last night, Willie's on the TTC, and it goes to legend status. It's the man was on the TTC.
Yeah,
if
I guess.
Or you or Jonas are on the TTC, no one cares.
No, but why it's a big story. The guy, he's a millionaire. He's a superstar. It's a blue-collar play. It's almost like he's accepting that he's a part of the city, the society.
He said today he rides it every day for the game.
So how have we never seen a picture of Willie?
Maybe he just puts his hood up, hat on.
Yeah, because a lot of guys do. A lot of guys either walk to the rink or take the TTC
traffic around
or
the rink.
Yeah,
is
it's a
just
mess.
insane.
Well, we had, like Matt Bonner was on the Raptor panel last night here on
Red
TSN,
Rocket.
and he was the Red Rocket.
Yeah.
Like that guy is still that he became so famous because he rode a streetcar down like King Street. And he was getting endorsement deals. Remember, he had something with Subway, I think, where he's like, I ride the Rocket all the way to Subway every day. It's like, man. And Bonner was a good player, but he was a depth guy off the bench. But you know what needs to happen? John Klingberg needs to get on the TTC, man. He needs to get on a bus.
With a pair of work boots and
Yes.
a work helmet, like
Yes.
a hard hat.
You know what he should do? You want to get goodwill in this city? Go up to Eglinton and start yelling about the LRT. If John Klingberg wants to become a favorite in this city, get up to Eglinton, start yelling about the LRT and how disgraceful it is that it's still not in action yet.
And then grab
people will
Wendell
immediately-
Clark and go on the TTC and
Yes.
sit beside Wendell, and
Yeah.
you'll instantly turn this thing around.
That's it. John Klingberg with Wendell Clark on the TTC, and he'll
You
be
know
a fan
what? Why don't
favorite.
you send it in at Hayes TSN at OverDrive? Things that John Klingberg could do outside of the rink where you'd be like, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all forgotten. I love this guy.
Okay. Yes, at Hayes TSN at OverDrive 1050. Shoot us the note. What can John Klingberg do away from the rink that will allow people to just breathe and say, you know what, I like
Yeah.
this. I like what this guy represents right now. All right. Jonas Siegel in here from The Athletic. James Myrtle's going to join us.
Oh boy.
The cronies are taking over the show.
We're
What are we
playing
going to
that
do here?
song. Who's ever behind the glass better have the proper verses ready when
Yeah,
we come
we
back
won't make
from
that
break.
mistake again. We know what we're doing here. It's all good. We got Luke Wilson coming up. I got to pick this game tonight. Can someone check on Al Michaels? Like Al Michaels, he may refuse to call this one tonight. Carolina, Chicago. This has got to be the worst primetime game, maybe of all time. Maybe. Like these are two bottom five teams. It's a mess in Chicago too. Their head coach was trying to explain Justin Fields and his playing status yesterday. We've got the audio. We'll get to it a little bit later this afternoon.
Isn't TB playing again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe so. So we'll get to that. We'll tee up the game. Luke Wilson will join us. Kevin Weeks coming up in a couple of hours. Again, Jonas is in here. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, we're staying committed to this. I like it. We're playing it all day. Revenge of the Nerds.
Should I watch this movie? I've never seen it.
Terrible movie. They made multiple Revenge of the Nerds, didn't they? Oh, like you're a big
Revenge
fan.
of the Nerds 1 is outstanding.
Okay, but they made a bunch of them, though. I've seen a few of them, and I can't recall, but I don't remember them being great. Like, it's not exactly a Scorsese picture, right? But Revenge of the Nerds, OverDrive brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score, asking on Twitter, at HayesTSN. Instagram, TikTok. I got a TikTok thing going. I'm going to try to post some videos. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no
Why'd
idea.
you need TikTok, bud?
Well, someone
what
around
are you,
here
Jackson
suggested.
Mahomes?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'll be the Jackson Mahomes of OverDrive. I thought I'd give it a shot and try to do some
What are
Jackson
you
stuff.
gonna
Jonas
do?
and I are going to do a dance. We'll do a little jig during the break. We'll post it. No, just stuff about the show, like nothing serious, but maybe something about John Klingberg, because there's a lot of content on there about the Leafs and about Klingberg. And we were asking, like, what could he possibly do to raise his approval rating in Toronto based on the Nylander TTC video, right, where he was taking the train to the game last night. And I saw a couple of really good ones already. Someone sent in saying if he could fix the housing crisis, that would go a long way. Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. Yeah, that's maybe he could do
So
that.
maybe he buys
If
a
he could
couple
fix
homes for people?
The housing crisis.
Yeah, the housing crisis. That's on John Klingberg. If he could fix that, all is good, right? His jerseys will fly off the shelf. Someone tweeting in saying traffic on the DVP at 5 o'clock. If he could find, like, these are all things that I think are reasonable. I think John could find a way to get out in front of that, and then everyone will soften on him because
Forget about 5 o'clock. If he can fix the traffic at 2 o'clock when I have to go in there and not sit on it for an hour and a half, I will only pull his positive clips on a panel.
Yes.
If he can make that happen.
Okay. Based on what we went through yesterday, he said if he starts doing Macho Man-esque promos before and after the game, I think that'd be great if John Klingberg dressed like the Macho Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, start talking about how he's going to bury guys tonight and just crush it and be defensively
like
sound.
Giant Oakleys in warm-up.
Yeah.
and a
I will
beard.
say, I should
I love
say,
it.
from talking to him quite a bit, he's aware of all
course.
these issues. He does
course.
not want it to be this way. He wants to be better. He's trying. He's always talking with Mike Van Ryan, like they're trying to figure this out. I guess to go back to what we were talking about before, I just don't know if that's what's in these players that they've got would be my concern.
Yeah.
Like you can say play smarter, play tighter. Like some people just aren't good defensive players.
What's the explanation for the carryovers? That's where I think a lot of frustration
the
is.
turnovers?
Well, no, I mean like David Camp has been here for years.
Yeah,
Why is it all of a sudden David
you're right.
Camp can't defend?
You're right. Their penalty kill has been bad.
Kill's been terrible, and that's still Mitch Marner. It's Yarncroke. It's Giordano.
Yeah, but that's like a little thing. Like they're using the oldest player in the league on their number one unit.
Right.
And now he's not on it.
Sounds like it's going to change. Yeah, like Giordano again is. They're asking a lot out of him.
They're asking too much.
They're asking too much out of him.
Yeah,
they are.
sure.
And that happens in pro sports all the time. You get injuries, and listen, Giordano is the epitome of a pro, and he's in incredible shape, and he wants to go. And I have all the time in the world for the guy because he's had an incredible career, and he wants to play. Like, he's dying to play. They got to drag him off the ice. Where a lot of guys in this league, it's the opposite. They'd happily take a night off, right? Or happily not skate, or happily not go to the gym. Gio is wired the way you want a guy wired, but he's 40, and he's had a lot of miles on him late in his career too. Like he kind of came on strong late. He won a Norris when he was like 35 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're asking a lot from guys that it's unreasonable. Yet that's pro sports. That's why you suit up. That's why you get paid. And something's got to give here. Someone tweeting in saying if John Klingberg left Jose Barrios in during Game 2.
Yes!
That's a good one.
Yes!
He's got to go back in time.
That is what we're talking about.
Yes. Go back in time and tell John Schneider. Maybe that's how we have to do this. What could John Klingberg do where you go back in time and save something for the Toronto sports scene, right?
Yes.
Maybe
and get his name in the good books.
Yes.
And one would be leave Barrios in.
Leave Barrios in. You know what would be another good one? He's in the office, John Ferguson Jr., about to call Peter Chiarelli in Boston and say, all right, we'll send you Tuukka Rask. Klingberg just goes over and hangs up the phone.
And says, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
What if John Klingberg was in the game in the 4-1 game and who was the right-handed kid that had the breakaway?
Matt Fratton.
If
yes,
Matt Fratton disappears and John Klingberg goes and scores and they win the series.
That's
like
the series.
in the
That's
movie,
what we need.
So like in the movie Ghost, like he's like in there and he
Jonas. Yes. He's Patrick Swayze. He's John Swayze.
Yes,
Patrick
he
Klingberg.
shows up and he just sizzles into people.
Yes, I love that idea. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's reasonable. John Klingberg is the new Patrick Swayze. And in this case, I guess Matt Fratton was Demi Moore. Right?
Yeah.
Demi Fratton needed to snipe because that was like 5-2. Or no, was it 4-2 at that point, I think? Didn't MacArthur have like a semi-breakaway too? We don't need to go there.
No, I think it was 4-1 and Fratton had the breakaway and could have made it. Maybe it was 4-2.
Mm-hmm. He could have closed
Fratton
it, though.
Could
You're
have
right.
made it 5-2.
But I'm telling you, Clark MacArthur was in close too. If not alone, he was in tight.
What if
in overtime, remember, Lupa was in tight too. Lupa had a chance to win that game in overtime.
So what if he goes in for James Reimer and he stops a couple of those pucks?
I guess that's maybe another way to look at it. Instead of Fratton scoring, he goes in and he's Reimer.
Klingberg goes in the net and he's not just like this in the net.
Here's a good one. Someone tweeted in saying John Klingberg turns in to Kerry Fraser in 1993. High stick for Gretz, right? That's 5 in a game, or at least 4 for
Now
Blood.
we're on to something.
Now we're
Klingberg
talking.
puts his arm up as the ref and says, Gretz, you're going to the box.
Yes, because Gilmore, it was so blatant. Dougie got high sticked. Everyone saw it. Dougie's like, are you nuts? Like, are you missing this? What are you doing here? Come on. Craziness, man. Craziness. There's a lot of potential here for who could John Klingberg morph into in the past.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Were the Leafs like a ping pong ball away from Connor McDavid, or am I remembering that?
Yes, that is true. Through 3 of the 4 ping pong balls, they were statistically favored to get McDavid.
Okay. So he could have fixed that a little bit.
Yeah, he could have morphed into the 4th ping pong ball. You're right. How about McDavid? I can't wait to watch a game that features the San Jose Sharks tonight.
Man,
like I never thought I'd say that. But
I might have to have a coffee, like a strong one, at 9 p.m.
You just can't do it.
But you know what's going to happen after that? It's going to be 7-0 Oilers after 8 minutes, and then it's like...
Yeah, you're willing that into existence, man. I hope you're right, because I'd like to see the Oilers get off the schneid. I'd like to see their fan base be able to breathe.
I already told you. Daryl Sittler's on a private jet right now on his way to San Jose, because Connor McDavid's going to get 10 points tonight.
He better show up, man. He better snap out of it, but he doesn't look right. Like, tonight will be a defining moment for the Oilers. If even it, like, it's such an insulting thing to say about San Jose because they're in the NHL. But even if you just beat them, it might not be good enough, right?
Like just win 2-1.
Yeah, you win 2-1, and Skinner makes a bunch of good stops, and you kind of survive late. Yes, you can breathe. You get 2 points, but against San Jose, considering how poorly the Oilers have played, the expectation should be they crush them tonight. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. I never thought I'd say that, but again, the Thursday nighters, Carolina against Chicago. How about the Raptors last night? Your boy Scottie Barnes. Dude, you owe me an apology because Scottie could not shoot. Like early in that game, man, he was throwing up bricks.
Didn't he have like 5 straight 20-point games?
His stats prior to that last night, but his stats are off the charts, okay? The only players over the last 50 years to average. Now, this is in a season.
I love the stats
early.
talk. Just keep going.
Yes. 20-plus points per game, 10-plus rebounds per game, 5-plus assists per game, 1-plus steal per game, 2-plus blocks per game. Wow. Scottie Barnes and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Wow.
All right? Now, they've played 8 games. Kareem would have played, 82 or whatever. But here's another stat I saw online last night. Scottie Barnes, the only player to average 20-plus, 10-plus, 6-plus assists, 2 blocks, 1.5-plus steals per game over his first 8 games of an NBA season. That is since steals and blocks became official in 73-74. That's how good he's been. Mm-hmm. That's how good he was last night. And even though his shot was not going down, I thought he made plays in the fourth quarter that defined why the team won. Defensively, rebounds, assists. Man, he was a stud last night.
You know who else? I got a little nugget for you because I watched the last 8 minutes, okay? Amateur opinion. But my boy OG Anunoby's got some hops right now, and he looks good. And I've never really seen that in the past, Hazy B. I just saw him. He looked like he was bigger, stronger, fitter or something.
Yes.
He just looked like he was attacking, and he's got some hops. And I was like, he looks different to me.
He was great last night, and that's a great point because he was putting up points in the paint, and that's not generally where he does damage. Like, he was hitting outside shots, and he's been shooting the ball really well early in the year. But you're right. Like, he was a guy, he was aggressive last night. He was driving the ball, at times putting it up, at times popping out. OG looked great. Like, yeah. And then Siakam had a night. Like, we've been waiting for it. Pascal had a night last night. And that's a big win. Like, Dallas was 6-1 prior to that last night. And outside of a slow start, it was like Raptors through and through. They never let their foot off the gas. And you're right. Anunoby was great last night. He's been great early in the year. Barnes has been great. Dennis Schroeder's been good. Yeah. Like, Schroeder's put up Van Vliet-level numbers. Yeah. I'm not saying he is as good as Fred. And over the course of the year in the contract, I would take Van Vliet. But Schroeder has been everything you could ask for.
I told you. Yeah. Jonas, I always bug Hayes about the coverage of, like, the Raptors. He just said Siakam kind of woke up and had a game. What does he make, $35 million a year?
Yeah, he makes a lot of money.
Can you imagine if one of the Leafs were making $35 million and needed to wake up and had an 8-game kind of, like, it's just like, nothing to see there. He'll wake. And it's just like, if it's a Leaf guy, it's like, look what we're doing.
Yeah, we're doing
John
it right
Klingberg.
now.
Yeah, John Klingberg. We're picking it apart, and OG or Siakam was like, he'll figure it out.
No, he deserved a lot of.
It's completely
heat,
different
man.
coverage. It's completely different.
How are you
going
to feel when some NBA players make like $60 million, $70 million?
That's already here.
That's coming. Like Dame Lillard, I think will make that pretty.
But I don't understand why people take issue with that.
I don't care.
The players get 50%.
The owners make $1 bajillion.
But that's the whole
more.
point. It's a CBA. You get 50%, whether it's $1 or $100 million. Someone's got to get it. The players have to get it.
But he's just bringing up.
No, I hear you. It will affect the way. Listen, that kind of money is crazy. Like, it
just tells you what the owners
money.
are making.
They're making a fortune.
A lot more.
A fortune. All right, James Myrtle coming up. Jonas, you and James, let's see if we can get you to disagree on something. That is
we disagree on lots of stuff.
Oh, I'm going to poke the bear on that. There we go. All right. Let's see if we get an eye test disagreement. All right, we got to get an eye test disagreement.
And keep the Klingberg
coming up.
The Klingberg positivity moments coming.
There's a lot of great ones coming in at Hayes TSN. All right, OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, TSN 1050's Leafs lineup. Your chance to win Leaf tickets every week, all season long. Every weekday, we'll announce a current or former Maple Leaf player. And on Fridays, you'll have a chance to call in and name the Leaf lineup of the week. Today's player is Todd Gill. Todd Gill is your player of the day. This week, we're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Panthers November 28th. There you go. There'll be one more player tomorrow. Then the phone lines will open. If you call in with all five, you're going to see Leafs Panthers. All right. Todd Gill, your player of the day. Love it. Number 23. A lot of people pointing out that Klingberg wears number 3.
Justin Hall, Dion
Phaneuf.
Yeah, like
Lineage.
Pick something different.
Yeah,
Switch it up.
That's one thing he could do. Show up tomorrow night with a new number. I'd go a long
27.
way.
Like number. No, he's not.
Sittler?
27.
Maybe that'll work. Maybe that'll
he should.
get some. Yeah.
Maybe 21 like Salming, right? I'm sure that was his idol, I would guess, growing up.
Isn't that
Right?
retired?
Yeah, no, I understand. It is.
99?
That would be bold. Is that not retired league-wide?
Retired, yeah.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah, it is.
Why isn't 66 retired league-wide?
No kidding.
Or number
Has
4 even.
anyone
like Bobby
tried to
Orr.
wear that?
66? I'm sure it's happened. I can't think of anybody
gonna
off the
find
top of
out.
my head, but it would be a bold move. John Klingberg shows up like Mario Lemieux tomorrow night. Hour 2 coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.